Introducing Dr. William J. Bryan, the first medical doctor in the United States to specialize in the practice of hypnotism.
In 1960, I was consulted regarding a tragic case of a triple murderer who strangled his victims immediately after viewing the movie Psycho. His fascinating analysis under hypnosis, now a matter of record in my book, came to the attention of the producers of Dementia 13, who asked me to devise a method of preventing a recurrence of this tragedy.
You will be given a test prepared by Dr. Bryan to determine your ability to withstand shock. Those unable to pass this test will not be admitted to the theater. In this old castle, death is the youngest thing alive, for it is born and reborn 13 times, each time from a different dementia. A miasma of madness hides the one who delivers death, one who walks with silent tread and strikes with ruthless force. Is it the mother, demented by grief, or the attentive daughter-in-law, whose voice is soothingly hypnotic?
She'll tell me. I promise you.
Is it the son, who with fire creates beauty? Or the doctor who can cure and kill? Or perhaps the new bride, tortured by the ever-present nearness of death? Know the frenzy of a wedding night, in which a marriage is consummated in a passion of terror. You too will be mesmerized by a world that cannot be, but is. The movements of the static startles the wisest of birds. The mystery of the enigmatic leads to a strange rendezvous. An attempted escape, a meeting with terror.
It's recording now again. Let's keep our fingers crossed and see that, and hope that after the third time's a charm, because yeah. So here's the third time trying to record a podcast for Dementia 13. The first time we recorded it, the audio was staggered. The second time we tried to record this, only my audio came through, and now we're trying it again. So hopefully, folks, we can finish this off.
Yep.
This is the Coppola curse. He doesn't want us to do this show.
Right.
But we're going to try it anyway. So, Dementia 13, starring Luana Anders, William Campbell, Patrick McGee, and other cool people. This is a psycho thriller.
Yeah.
From '63. This is the first movie that I think Coppola really directed. He directed it on, Corman was doing a movie called Young Racers in Ireland, and he had some extra money left over after he finished filming the other movie because he's a cheapskate, or was, and he gave Coppola 20 grand. He said, go make me another movie, and I wanted a psycho thriller. So Coppola said, all right. So he went into his, wherever he was, his office, wherever he was. I think they were in Ireland at the time.
Yeah,
went to his
Ireland,
office.
So I think it was in a hotel room he did.
In a hotel, yeah, and he just in 3 days he came up with a story, you know. I mean, and Corman said, "All right, do it." And then when it was done, Corman said, "Not good enough.
Needs more padding.
Needs more blood. Needs more whatever." So he got his other guys, Jack Hill and whatever, to do a little gory scene, and then they got I think it was Jack Hill, somebody else to do one of these fake intros with a fake psychiatrist, and you know, are you like normal enough to watch this movie, you know, that kind of crap, you know. And I've never seen it. I think I saw a little bit of it in a trailer, but yeah, that was the padding. You know, a kill scene, and then intro for 5 minutes, and I think that you read it too. Didn't they do so? They did some overdubs maybe or something to add to explain the movie a little bit or something.
He did overdubs to make it to make the script more sensible, I guess, because I guess some of the dialogue was still didn't quite explain anything.
Well, you told me last time that when you watched this movie originally, you couldn't understand. You didn't understand it. It's kind of confusing for you.
I watched this. I think like this is the 5th time I've seen it, but what happens is the first 4 times was on network television, and it kept, we would break for a commercial, so you kind of lose the thread of the plot because there's like no fat on this script.
No.
Everything is important, and you really have to listen to it to find out what's going on. So this is the first time I actually just sat down, took notes, watched it, and then I finally understand what the hell is going on. Whoosh.
Well, I mean, it's a simple plot, but it's basically like Psycho, in a way.
It's basically a Psycho
thriller, but
or whatever.
But Coppola made it different enough, so it's not the same plot line. So it starts off with Luann Andrews, who's she's the Janet Leigh of the movie. I'll put it that way, and her husband, and like they get in a rowboat in the middle of the night, and the guy decides he wants to go out for a boat ride. I don't know why, but
and you don't know where you figure through the course of the movie you figure out that they're in Ireland because there's some yearly
there's a family ceremony
ritual or ceremony they go through for the drowned daughter.
Yeah.
And Luann is married to this guy John, and she wants to make sure that when the mother dies, the money doesn't go into a charity
or trust fund
or
for
something
Kathleen,
like that.
Yeah.
And then as they're arguing, and then John starts rowing the boat. He has a heart attack and dies.
He's got pills, but they're empty, and she's like freaks out,
So she dumps him overboard, and then she types up a letter to the mother saying, "Oh, I had to go back to the States for business."
No, she's typed a letter saying that the guy had to go back, the son had to go back.
Yeah, the guy had to go back. Right, that's right.
So that he wouldn't be at the ceremony or whatever.
Right. So then she goes to the castle, and everybody is weird and creepy, and and they're suspicious of her. I guess this is the first time they're meeting her. Yeah. And the mother's sort of really
she's standoffish.
Towards her. Yeah. And then she's talking to a
she types out a letter, and then she goes and she takes the typewriter and his clothes and dumps it in the lake, or is it the pond or the lake? Well,
I don't know.
Yeah, that's the confusing part.
It has to be a lake because when they drain the pond later on,
there's not.
They don't find his body, so it has to be another.
So she gets rid of traces of him being there, right. So it looks legit.
Yeah. So then the youngest brother, Billy, he picks up William Campbell's fiancée at the airport.
Her name is Kane.
Right. And then they get to the castle, and Kane and Richard, he's in his studio pounding away on his metal sculptures. Apparently he's a world-renowned sculptor. And so they have a bit of an argument, and then there's a weird dinner scene. Everybody's sort of stressed out and creepy, and they don't like Luann being there, and Kane's trying to be nice.
Well, Kane wasn't invited to the ceremony either. It was just going to be the family.
No. Yeah, just the 3 brothers and the mother.
Well, 2 brothers, because the other one's gone.
Well, now 2 brothers. And she came to Ireland because she was going to marry Richard. They were going to...
William Campbell character, yeah.
William Campbell, right. And then Luann goes out, and she's talking to the guy who runs the castle and the farm.
The groundskeeper.
The groundskeeper. For some reason, I
know.
never
you can't get that.
It's like I got a block.
It's like me yesterday. I was trying to describe what's those things that it's not a telescope, but you use it to look far away. And my friend goes, binoculars. I go, yes.
And some,
That's
I don't know,
called
sometimes you get a
getting
weird
old. You
plot.
know, that's called getting old.
Yeah, no
Yeah,
kidding.
exactly.
So then he tells her that Kathleen drowned in the pond, and they hold a ceremony every year for her death and stuff. So then you
Then the
see
mother throws a rose at like at the in the tomb, and then the rose wilts, and then she passes
she
out,
passes out,
and
yeah,
Luann
and
Andrews
Luann,
up on the tower, and you
she
know.
runs down, puts the mother to bed, and she's like, I hear somebody in the halls at night, someone whispering my name, and the mother goes, oh, it's Kathleen. I hear her too. She speaks to me in signs and stuff.
Yeah, so
So
Luann wants
then,
to be like the ghost whisperer or something.
yes, so then she goes back. She sneaks into Kathleen's old room, and it's like really the door's like really creaking.
And you gotta like, it's not really it's almost like a door where you gotta like get up and get into it, and it's really small, and you know, it's weird.
Yeah, it's almost like
It's almost like a
they don't tell
closet or
you that,
something.
but it's almost like they blocked it off or something. I don't know. So anyway, she's looking for toys, and you see shots of these toys, mechanical wind-up toys, coming to life and moving towards the camera, and it's kind of creepy and stuff. So then she selects like four dolls, and then she leaves the room, and then you see
You see 2 feet that were
two. Yeah,
there.
it's a sign of
Somebody's
somebody
watching her.
being in. Yeah, was in the room and she didn't notice. And then she bumps into William Campbell. He's like, "What are you doing in this part of the castle?" She says, "Oh, I got lost." And so Billy's being set up to be a creep and
Yeah,
a
and Richard's
weirdo.
being set up to be a creep too. It's you don't know, to me, I feel the movie is set up to make William Campbell character be the creep. You know,
Right.
the other guy looks kind of, well, he has his moments of creepiness too, but
Yeah. So then, and then every once in a while, Billy, the youngest brother, he's having a flashback. You see him playing with the younger sister, Kathleen, and you don't know um,
it's very
what's going.
quick
It's
and
very, yeah, and vague and doesn't show anything. And then there's also a scene where Billy and Kane are out. He's showing her the grounds, and they meet a poacher, Simon. And it's a kind of a funny scene, ho, ho, but they just introduced the character there. So then Louise ties a string around the dolls, and then she pours some, I
well,
don't know, something
yeah,
on them.
you talk Luann Anders, Louise. Yeah, she goes out at night.
Yeah, Luann Anders.
The
Right.
dolls that she took from the closet. Yeah,
Yeah, she ties them on a rope, and then the rope to a wrench and dumps it. And she takes off.
she strips
Well,
down to her panties and stuff.
yeah, and then jumps in the pool or the pond where Kathleen drowned, and then she drops the dolls. And as she's swimming, she sees the body of she sees what looks like the body of Kathleen laying
But there's
next to
also
her.
like a crypt there. There's also like a
A
headstone.
little headstone. That's
Tomb,
it,
yeah, yeah.
headstone. And so then she gets all shocked, so she swims to the surface, to the edge of the pond, to get out of the pond. And then she sees the feet of somebody, and then an axe gets raised, and she gets all chopped up in the water. And then this shadowy guy grabs her by the arm and drags her away.
Yeah, that's a pretty infamous scene. I said before I
Yeah,
saw it as a kid and back in the late '60s, and it really freaked me out, kind of, you know.
yeah. And then the scene jumps, and you see Patrick McGee. He's there, and you learn he's a doctor, and he's questioning and talking to the family. And it's like, who's this guy? Where did he come
Yeah, he
from?
just comes out of nowhere. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
So
he was.
then,
I think he was also in that the Young Racers movie. You know, the one that Corman was making, the car movie, and then he had a few extra bucks for this one. I think
right.
McGee was in that one too.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, him,
And
Campbell,
you know,
and I.
and remind me, because Patrick McGee and William Campbell were in another infamous movie. I think we watched it before, but remind me about it at the end. I'll talk about it for a little bit. Anyway.
So then, they're at breakfast the next day because apparently the doctor's staying over to take care of the mother who's still in bed. And they're at breakfast outside, and it's a tense. Every time the family gets together, it's tense and real. And the mother doesn't want William Campbell to marry Kane.
Kane,
So there's some tension there. And then suddenly you hear a bubbling sound from the pond, and the dolls float up to the surface. And the mother sees that, she gets all fainty, and the maid carries her up to the room. And then William Campbell and the doctor, McGee, are looking
Patrick
at it.
McGee, yeah.
Looking at it, and this is, it's like, oh, what kind of joke is this? And Patrick Campbell's going, I didn't do it. Probably Luann. And then you see Billy. He takes a stick in, and he's like he's poking at the dolls. And then you see there's another flashback with him and his sister Kathleen. They're running around, and then they're fighting over some toy or whatever. And then they collect the doctor collects the dolls and gives them to the groundskeeper and says, "Burn these." So it's like, oh, okay.
Okay, let me be professional here. William Campbell is Richard, Luana
Right.
Andrews as Louise, Bart Patton was Billy, Mary Mitchell was Kane, Patrick McGee is Dr. Joseph Caleb, Easton Eastney I don't know how to pronounce it. Ethne Dunn as Lady Halloran, and Peter Reed as John Halloran. Kathleen Halloran. Okay, Kathleen Halloran does have a name. Barbie Barbre Dowling. So that's a weird thing about this movie. The Kathleen sometimes is a doll, but sometimes it's not a doll.
Right.
And Carl Schnauzer is Simon the poacher, and that's the cast. So we know, we got everybody there now. But so far the main ones are William Campbell, Luana Andrews, who's gone, Bart Patton, who's still around, Mary Mitchell is Kane, Patrick McGee, and Eithne, Ethne.
Etne, I don't know if you say th. Etne, I don't
I
know
don't
how you
know,
say
man.
that. It's Irish. Every once in a while, there's an H next to a letter.
She's
It's
an Irish.
pronounced
You're right. She's an
differently.
Irish actor. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So anyway, yeah. So, where were we? Oh, then after that,
After the doll, you come up to the front. Is that right? After that, is that when they're going inside and McGee asks the groundskeeper to empty
drain
out,
the pond.
drain the
Yeah, he
pond?
goes
Yeah.
drain the pond and stuff. So the next day, that night, there's a scene where before after that, you see Simon the poacher. He's like looking, I guess, for a fox or something, and he sees some movement in the bush, so he's crawling underneath, trying to sneak up, and then he sees the body of Kathleen, which I forget if it looks like the doll or the person, but so he gets shocked by it, and then suddenly you see the shadowy figure with the axe, and the axe falls down, and then you see Simon's head rolling into the pond.
That was a scene that Corman had filmed extra.
Yeah, had added, and I don't know. It must have been the lake, because when they drained
that was
the
a
pond,
lake, I think so, and the pond was a different thing.
Yeah. So then it's nighttime, and it's after the big brouhaha with the dolls and stuff, and Billy's sitting in the dining room. Kane comes down, and Billy tells her this dream he always has, where a dark man climbs up the wall and into his outside wall and through his window. And then his mother comes in, and then the dark man says, someone in this room, I'm insane, and someone in this room is insane, and they're going to start nodding their head. So the dark man nods his head, the mother nods her head, and then Billy starts nodding his head. And then Kane's like, well, who's the dark man? A weird dream. He goes, I don't know. So then she says something to him that upsets him or whatever. And he's like, well, I'm going to bed. And she's like, well, I want to go to bed and see Richard and say goodnight to him. And he goes, I just realized something. Richard was the dark man. Again, they're trying to sort of foreshadow that William Campbell, who's Richard, is the evil guy. So then, in the morning breakfast, again, they're indoors, it's tense, whatever. The handyman knocks on the door, calls Dr. Caleb out, and he says, "You have to come see this." And then Richard's like, "Well, what is it?" He says, "You have to see it." So they go to the pond, which has now been drained. In the pond, you see the grave or headstone and like a little rocks around to make like a little grave, and it says, "Please forgive me," I think. So then, the other people, like William Campbell's like, "What the hell's going on?" So he comes running out, and then everybody else comes running out, and Dr. Caleb says, this isn't funny." William Campbell goes, "I didn't do this. I don't know what the hell this was." And he said, "Well, didn't your father work in stone?" He says, "Yeah, but I don't remember him doing anything like this." So then, everybody sort of walks away, and then you see Billy. He's looking at the thing, and then you get another flashback of him and Kathleen. So then you see Richard, William Campbell, walking downstairs in like the basement area, like a part of the castle that's no longer used, and he like finds his door and he opens it, and the hinges are rusty and creaky. He opens the door and Kathleen comes in, and he's looking around. It's a studio for stone carving, and she comes in, and he's like, "What are you doing, following me?" She says, "Ooh, you're acting weird, Richard, and are you the killer or whatever? Are you the person doing all this stuff?" He says, "No, I'm not. I'm just looking to see who carved the stone and who did this." And then she's like all relieved because I guess she was worried that he's the
Well,
crazy one.
he seemed to be the most suspicious one.
Right. Yeah.
Because it seems like what's his face, Patrick McGee is kind of like you're kind of like after him for
Right.
whatever reason.
So then, they hug and embrace, and it's sort of things have smoothed between them. And then as the camera pulls back, you see the body of Kathleen laying there in the studio that they don't see.
Right.
So then, Dr. Caleb and Billy go out for a drink, and as they're sitting there, Patrick McGee says,
He's getting him drunk,
yeah,
basically.
yeah, and he's saying,
Billy doesn't drink, and he goes, have some Guinness. It'll be good for you.
yeah, and he says, "You know what happened to Kathleen?" Kathleen, he says, "I didn't see Kathleen drown." He says, "Yes, you did." He says, "Who told you?" He says, "You told me." And then he goes into a trance, and he recites some
That fishy, something on
hooky
hooky.
hooky, inky dinky,
Yeah,
parley boo,
something like
something like
that.
that.
Yeah.
So then, it's the wedding reception of Kane and
Richard.
Richard, and she's looking around. She can't find Richard. She's going to all the guests, and um, she passes. She goes to Dr. Caleb and says, "Have you seen Richard?" And he says, "No." And then he tries to warn her about the family, and they all have issues and weirdness and whatnot. And she's like, whatever. So then you see the mother. She
She starts getting some kind of. She finds a tiara or something.
yeah, she wanted to bury the tiara. It's like I guess it's an expensive jewelry, and the mother has jewels or something. So she for some reason she takes the tiara, and in her nightgown she goes down and she uh
She's got a little room, right,
yeah, it's like a little playroom on the outside, or playhouse or whatever.
and there's a
Well, actually,
doll.
this happened before the wedding.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So then she goes in, and then she sees
Yeah, right. Because after the
Kathleen.
scene, the mom passed out or whatever for
Right.
the second time in the
For the
movie.
second time. So she sees Kathleen, which is an actual person now, and then she's talking to her, and she puts the tiara on her head, and then the Kathleen's head sort of falls forward on her chest, and the tiara falls down, and the mother gets freaked out, and then suddenly the shadowy guy starts swinging an axe around her and attacking her. she like runs out, and then she faints, and then they put her to bed. Then you have the wedding reception, and then after that, you see Kane and William Campbell. They're going to a barn to make out. I guess I don't know why, but they, so they're rolling around in a straw, and then you see Patrick McGee. He's looking around and he's reciting the
hooky,
nursery
fishy
rhyme.
hooky thing.
Yeah. So then I guess it's a meat house or a cold house or something. So he opens the door and he finds Luann all bloody and hanging from a meat hook, and next to it this like half a pig carcass. And then he looks over and then he sees the doll of Kathleen, but then it's obviously a doll this time, not the real, not a real person. So it's almost like they were trying to imply that whoever saw the doll, depending on their mental state, mistook it for a real person or a doll. So he then picks the doll up, and you see him walking away, and he places the doll on some kind of fountain in the center court of the castle, and backs off into the trees. And then you hear somebody scream, and then you see a crowd of people around looking, just standing far away. They're like about 20 or 30 feet away from the doll. And the screams and the shock and the commotion attracts William Campbell and Kane. And so they run and look, and everybody's standing there looking at it. And then Kane starts walking towards it to see what it is. And suddenly Billy comes out of the woods somewhere, and with an axe, and he's like, leave her alone, don't hurt, I'm going to protect her. And he's going to use the axe to kill Kane, and McGee takes his gun out and shoots him dead. And he falls down, and then as he's dying, you see the flashback where you finally see what happened. So Billy and Kathleen were fighting over a toy, and he won. And as he pulled the toy out of her hand, she slipped and fell into the pond and drowned. And then he ran away. And Dr. Caleb says he went insane after his sister, after he caused his sister's death. And then he picks up the discarded axe that Billy had, and he smashes the head of the wax doll of Kathleen. The end.
Fishy, fishy in a brook. Daddy caught you on a hook. That's what Billy recited when he was like under hypnosis slash drunk or whatever. So.
And I think that they somewhere in the movie, if I remember correctly, they didn't find her body. Oh, they must have found her body because they had a tombstone, a grave for her.
I don't know. There was always a doll, or a girl pretending to be a doll. That was a weird part of the movie. I don't know if that was done to unnerve people or what, but obviously the last scene was a doll, not a.
Hopefully.
It almost seems like Kathleen was preserved. It was weird. It wasn't explained, but it almost felt like she was preserved. But there was also wasn't there some story that he had the doll to make him feel more? Wasn't that part of the story where he had a doll of her to make him feel less responsible for it or something like that?
Yeah, and that he can protect it.
Yeah, there was something to do with that. But you get the impression from watching it the second time. I didn't watch it again since last week, but that Kathleen might have been actually preserved in that either a meat locker or in somewhere, and she was dead, but she was still intact or whatever.
Yeah, not a lot is explained.
No, it's vague. Yeah, it's vague.
Yeah, which in some ways kind of adds to the creepiness.
Yeah.
Of the movie, and quite frankly, when I saw the poster, I was more expecting like more of a ghost story or some kind of weird monster story.
Yeah.
And it's an interesting movie, and I'm sure I think that's what Corman tried to do is overdub some of the dialogue to make it a little more not intelligent, but being able to follow what the story was. This could do with a good editing and padding out of more. Hell, even exposition would have helped this.
Well, it says here, according to Coppola, Corman insisted on dubbing the picture the way he wanted it, adding voiceovers to simplify some of the scenes, and then worse,
Right.
he wanted extra violence added, another axe murder at least. Jack Hill did that, and he that was and Jack Hill was added later and to shoot some scenes with that Carl Schnauzer as the comical poster who was beheaded or whatever. And then Corman complained the film was too short and insisted it be padded out with at least another 5 minutes of footage. So Gary Kurtz was involved with Star Wars and all that, one of Corman's assistants. So we shot a stupid prologue that had nothing to do with the rest of the film. It was some guy who was supposed to be a psychiatrist sitting in his office and giving the audience a test to see if they were mentally fit to see the picture. The film was actually released with that prologue. The prologue was directed by Monty Hellman, a pretty famous director, and it was like, and this cheap William Castle gimmick also included a D13 test handout that was given to the theater patrons. It was devised by a supposed medical expert to weed out psychologically unfit people from the film. The test consisted of such questions as, the most effective way of settling a dispute is with one quick stroke of the axe to your adversary's head? Or, have you ever been hospitalized in a locked medical ward, sanitarium, rest home, or other facility for the treatment of mental illness? Yes or no were the only possible answers. So yeah, they did some goofy gimmick at the beginning of William Castle stuff or whatever,
Right.
But I read here that a lot of the cast were UCLA people that Coppola knew, and they paid for their way to Ireland.
Yeah.
And
to appear in the movie.
Yeah, Ethne or whatever her name is was actually paid $600 for this movie.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that Corman. This movie's public domain, even though some people claim that it isn't. But I believe that Coppola released the director's cut a few years ago, so maybe he's claiming back ownership of the movie. I don't know, but
who knows? This
movie was one of those early VHS sell-through public domain cheapies.
Yeah.
And I'll probably have I know I have a cheapo DVD of it somewhere. Yeah, it's I saw it on YouTube. There's a decent version of it, but again, not the prologue. I think I have part of the prologue on a trailer, so maybe I'll add the trailer to the to this podcast or whatever. But
okay, here's the typical pronunciation of the mother's.
E-I-S-N-E.
Yeah, E-I-T-H-N-E. It's pronounced
Ethan.
Enya. No, Enya.
Enya. Oh, like the
yes.
like the musician Enya.
Yeah.
Okay.
Apparently the TH is silent in Irish.
Well, Enya, the recording artist spells
yes.
E-N-Y-E, so she gets it right,
Yeah, right.
Well, she gets it so it's Enya. Okay. Well, there we go. Okay, so Enya just got paid $600.
Wow.
Okay, two other things in this movie. There was that one scene towards the beginning where Kane is riding a horse, and the infamous dialogue that apparently influenced Tom Petty. There's a line that William Campbell,
Luann.
Richard is there with Luann Anders, and Kane, Mary Mitchell is riding a horse, and Luann goes, "Oh, she's an American girl. She was probably raised on promises." And I'm like,
yeah.
"Oh boy, I know where that comes from." That was like the first line of the song. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I don't know what the connection is, but okay, we did this movie already. I think we did.
Oh God.
There's 4 movies, and it came out in a box set. It's like variations on on an idea, and it was starring William Campbell and Patrick McGee. It originally started out as something called Operation Titian, filmed in Hungary, and it was a murder mystery. And then Corman didn't like it, so he decided to make it into a thriller, and it was called, I think it was called Point of Terror or whatever, and that was with both of them, and it became like a thriller movie mystery. And then that was released, but then Corman got the bright idea, hey, let's turn this into a vampire movie, a mad artist vampire movie. Look up Bloodbath. that movie.
Yeah, Bloodbath. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Bloodbath had a complex and troubled production.
Yeah, there you go. Read it. See what it says.
And reshoots. 1963 had produced a Yugoslavian-made spy thriller, Operation Tishin.
Tishin
with a, and then he wrote and directed numerous horror sequences that were edited into the film, and then it was retitled Portrait in Terror.
Portrait in Terror, that's it.
And he still didn't like it, so he hired additional.
Jack Hill was hired, I think, or somebody
people,
like that.
This says Stephanie Rothman.
And Stephanie Rothman, yeah.
To film additional stuff, and then he released it as
Bloodbath, right?
Bloodbath.
And then, does it keep going?
An additional version of the film was made for television and retitled Track of the Vampire.
There you go. That's the one I saw. That's the one that I remember watching on late night TV, Track of the Vampire. It's a creepy movie, man.
Well, maybe we should watch that next.
I think we did. I'm not sure. If we didn't, we'll do it. But yeah, it's a creepy movie. But it has a lot of padding in it, and William Campbell is a mad artist with a vampire ancestor, and you know.
Oh God.
And it's got
one of the actresses appeared in Petticoat.
Yeah,
Laurie
Sanders. Laurie Sanders did. Yeah, she was one of the three sisters that was there. Her and Linda Henning were there throughout the whole run of the show.
Yeah, the blonde was always changing. First
it was a brunette. First it was what's her face who was in I can't think of her name right now. My brain. The second one was Ganilla Hutton, and the third one was Meredith McRae.
Wow.
So the first one, do I have to look it up? Oh my God. Who was
Meredith McRae.
Who's the last one?
Was the last one.
Early before her was Ganilla Hutton, who later got famous on whatchamacallit, Hee Haw.
Yes, that's right. And didn't she do Pose for Playboy or something too? Or
I don't know.
Thinking of somebody else.
I'd like to see it. I never saw that. But her thing was, she was. It's kind of. I found out about this later. Hold on. Let me find out. Let me get the cast so I can get it out of my head or whatever. Pat Waddell. Thank you very much, Pat Waddell. Yes. There you go. Anyway, Ganilla Hutton's. She came from young. But before she Petticoat Junction, I think she was like a backup singer, a showgirl, and apparently, like in the early '60s, she had some kind of torrid affair with Nat King Cole, believe it or not.
Oh, wow.
And when the wife found out, she broke that up real fast, and then Nat died or whatever. So then she got on Petticoat, and then she left Petticoat Junction within I think she only did X amount of episodes for the year, and then she left the show because either she got sick or she got sick of the show and then wanted to do something else. And then a couple of years later, she was on Hee Haw she sang and did skits for I don't know how many years, so that's her story. And then of course after that she became she did Match Game and all that, and I believe her and Laurie Sanders and maybe Linda Henning occasionally do autograph shows and do the the Petticoat Junction thing or whatever. But Ganilla only lasted maybe half a season.
Yeah, it says when she was seeing Nat King Cole, she called the wife, his wife, and said, you need to divorce him.
Yeah.
You're in love or something like that. And then the wife's like, no effing way.
Yeah. It was weird.
Or else. Wow.
Yeah, it's a strange story. Who knew? And then Nat King Cole didn't last much longer.
No.
But anyway, but the middle one, Laurie Sanders, was in Petticoat Junction. And she's there was another female in the movie, and I can't think of her name right now. In Track of the Vampire, who was a Playboy, played Melissa Mathers or Melissa. Oh, what was her name? Melissa Mathers, maybe, or something. I can't remember her name right now.
Marissa
Mathis.
Yeah, Mathes.
She was in Playboy. but she
Oh,
didn't.
okay.
She didn't make it through the whole movie. But Laurie Sanders became like, she did a lot of extra scenes. Like there was a scene in the middle of the movie where she does like a dance on the beach for 8 minutes. It's obvious, that was what that
God.
was. Well, you know what it is?
Oh
It's like it was.
God.
You know what it is? Bloodbath, the original movie, was like 65 minutes long. So if you want to
Mhm.
get it on TV, you can't get a movie on TV that's 65 minutes long. So you got to pad it to make it either 90 minutes or 2 hours. So they had to add 10 or 15 minutes of scenes or whatever, and
Right. Right.
I,
And
but
plus, you also then have to take into account commercials.
of course,
So
and I got to look it up,
yeah,
but I think
it's
the poacher was in Bloodbath. I think Carl, whatever his name is, Carl Schnauzer or whatever, whatever. I think he was in Bloodbath too. Let me look it up here because he looked real familiar. He was
yeah.
the movie, the Bloodbath, Strike of the Vampire had like this weird subplot with like beatniks, and the mad artist William Sanders was always doing these like blood. They called them the blood red female portraits that were selling or whatever. Now we're doing a review for Bloodbath or whatever. You get two movies for one or whatever. You know what I mean? But let's see, Bloodbath, 1964, I think, almost around the same time as this movie.
Yeah.
Let's see here, Bloodbath. But anyway, that's a cool
Carl,
movie.
Carl Schnauzer was Max.
He was in
Yeah, he
in
was in
Bloodbath.
Bloodbath.
So
Yeah.
and he was also the poacher in the. So you had three people
Yeah.
from Bloodbath. You had William, you had Patrick McGee, William Campbell, and Schnauzer. Now Bloodbath was not made in Europe, was it? It was made in the United. Well, no, I'm taking it back. The footage, the Hungarian footage, obviously was done overseas, and
Right.
that was where Patrick McGee's footage came in.
Right.
The Patrick McGee plot was from that movie, but the Schnauzer stuff was made in the U.S. and the stuff with
Right.
William Campbell and all. It's a convoluted. It's an even more convoluted movie than
Wow.
Dementia 13 or whatever.
Wow.
But they were
I'm
cool.
just reading like scanning some of the plot, and it looks cool.
Are you sure we never saw this? I'm gonna have to look. I think we did it.
Hey,
If
did you
not, we'll
maybe-
do it next time.
Yeah. Did you maybe do it with?
You think I did it on Slow Robot maybe or something?
Yeah.
I'm not
Yeah.
sure, but well, if you don't remember it, so well, maybe we'll do it for the next time or whatever.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah. It's an odd. It kind of creeped me out because when I was a kid, it was one of those movies where I came and I just watched the last 20 minutes of it, and the last scene of it, where the artist has the victim in his dungeon, is pretty creepy. It really is creepy. Jack Hill was a director, and he was good at doing creepy black and white. He did Spider Baby and stuff like that.
Okay.
So he was pretty good, but yeah, there is a connection between these two movies. Now, obviously, Coppola was not involved in Bloodbath, but yeah, the Patrick McGee, because Patrick McGee and Campbell had a bunch of scenes in Portrait and Terror or whatever, so they incorporated them. Anyway, all these B movie guys, they always. Corman, sometimes Sam Sherman, they would just recycle movies and retitle them and add scenes, and then you'd go to the theater and change the poster, and you go to the theater and go, hey, wait a minute, didn't I see this movie already?
Yeah, they would cut, and then I think they would buy stuff from Europe and then cut things out. And
Oh,
like
yeah,
they did with Godzilla.
yeah.
They bought the Godzilla film, and then they spliced in scenes of Raymond Burr.
Yeah. You know what Corman did? I think he bought more than two. I think he bought two Russian sci-fi movies, and he made let's see if I can remember all of them. Voyage to the Planet of Prehistoric Women. That was a Russian movie with Mamie Van Doren scenes added to it.
Right.
Queen of Blood was part of a Russian movie that had Dennis Hopper was in it. Forrest Ackerman was in it. I think John Saxon was in it. There was a couple of other ones that I can't think of right now, but yeah, Corman did did by footage just to get the sci-fi, just to get the effects,
Yeah.
and then had his
Yeah.
guys, hey, go ahead and make a movie out of this, you know?
Yeah. Jack Hill directed Spider Baby, Pit Stop, The Big Dollhouse,
Women in prison movies, yeah.
Coffee, Foxy Brown, Switchblade Sisters.
Yeah, yeah.
And he's also credited with helping cultivate the careers of Pam Grier, Sid Haig, Ellen Burstyn,
Yeah, she was in one
and
of those movies.
Quentin Tarantino
Was influenced by it.
The Howard Hawks of exploitation filming.
No shoot.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know,
so
it's funny when you read some of the histories of some of these people. Some are like relatively mild, and some are like wild and out there. Like,
oh,
what
these
the
people were
hell is
crazy, man. You know, Corman would.
Yeah.
I think Corman would just go to film schools and just grab people out of there and go like, "Hey, I'm going to give you a shot." You know?
Yeah. Yeah, and you learn trial by fire.
Yeah. And if he going back to Dementia 13, if he didn't like the movie, he'd get his guys to go in and add extra things like he thought was, and then you know,
Add
I
stuff and
don't know if you
change
want to call it
things.
cannibalizing movies, but you know, definitely modifying them, you know, to his and honestly,
Well, you know, in a way, I was going to say, in a way, you know, like you say, if you go to the drive-in, you see one version of the movie. On TV, it's another version. And then if
yeah,
you do any sort of European
yeah, we added
distribution,
we added some
that's a third.
nudity.
Yeah, that's a third version.
I think I'm pretty sure Dementia 13 was the bottom. I think the A movie that they did was Queen of Blood, and then Dementia 13 was the B on it. So it was always intended, I think, to be not the main movie, but the second feature. Because you know, by doing two features, of course, you get more money. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you know, that was another
Exactly.
AIP thing. They started specializing in double features because why would they want to be the B feature in a movie and get less money? Just crank out two cheapo movies and you know, and these were all made for mostly drive-ins.
Yeah. And, you know, for kids and older kids and teenagers
And you know, they were made for
college
drive-ins. They were
students.
made for drive-ins in '63, and by '66, they were already showing up in television. You know.
Yeah. Well, it's a new market and more money.
Yeah.
You know, and back then it wasn't like global, not global, but you know, you didn't have cable and stuff, so you could go
Yeah.
to each major city and
Yeah.
strike a deal with them, and you know, get money and so and they they had different packages for different areas.
I mean, the network sometimes would play like Hammer movies, like in the '60s.
Hmm.
They would play like you know stuff that was a little more high budget. But the local TV stations, you know, when you started getting the UHF channels, they were just looking for
Yeah.
movies, and you get these cheap packages of Corman movies. Like my friend used to work in television. You'd get a pamphlet or a salesperson to go, hey, here's a list of movies that we have distribution for. They're AIP movies, and they go, okay, well, we can show movies now. You know, like maybe in
Hmm.
prime time, maybe in late night, and you know, and a lot of syndicated shows, and now we got a TV station. Even the local stations back in the '60s, every Friday and Saturday they would have a horror show, or sometimes Saturday afternoon, and this was like the perfect the perfect stuff for it, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Exactly.
yeah, Corman. These guys double dipped. They made the movies, and then and then if they still own the movie by the '80s, they got video money out of it,
Video, and then
DVD
when DVDs. Yeah. So
and
they yeah
Blu-ray, and
they
now streaming.
yeah.
All this stuff is on streaming. If it's not on YouTube, it'll be on
Some
Tubi or something like
Tubi or
that. So
Freevee or
yeah,
this
Pluto or whatever the
yeah
all are. So
yeah
so anyway, that's our Dementia 13 slash Bloodbath slash Roger Corman's career show. I hope it recorded. It was a good one. I think this one was actually
yes
better than the other ones that we did.
yeah it
So
was well you know third time's a charm.
yeah, there you go. So anyway, we'll be back next week with maybe Bloodbath, Track of the Vampire, possibly, or what the hell, we'll just do it. And
Yeah.
We'll be back in a couple of weeks. But in the meantime, Roddy,
Watch more B-movie.